So I wanted to start with, in terms of the global landscape, the Inflation Reduction Act. We've talked about it a bit. It's a bit of a game changer. Curious on your thoughts in the short term, how does Australia play to its natural strength in terms of the implications of this? And then over the medium term, how do we take advantage of some of the targeted technologies, et cetera, that hopefully the US will help bring to an affordable price point?
Thanks, Shamara. Pleasure to be here. Look, I think I see the Inflation Reduction Act maybe in three parts. Firstly, it's an unalloyed good thing for the planet. The United States is back. Secondly, and relatedly, it's a good thing because it reduces the cost of production across a whole range, hydrogen most spectacularly, but across a whole range. And we benefit from that regardless of where it happens. And thirdly, of course, is the challenge of the distortionary impacts because we want the activity generated by the IRA to be additional, not distorting things that would have happened here or elsewhere. And the world is, we're all responding in our own ways. To your point, of course, we are working with it as best we can, and the fact that the Prime Minister and the President negotiated climate and energy should be the third pillar of the alliance is no small thing. It's partly we get some benefits under the IRA as a country with a free trade agreement when it comes to processing critical minerals. We negotiated, subject to congressional approval, which we're hopeful of, the beneficial treatment under the Defence Production Act. But then we've got to respond as well. Now, Europe's responded, Canada's responded, we've had an initial response, we will have a further response. But it's really thinking about your exact question, how do we maximise the advantage? Nobody has suggested to me we need to respond dollar for dollar.
No, yeah.
Because of our broader advantages, natural and human, and everything that we bring to the table. But of course we need to stay in the game.
You've talked about affordability, reliability and security here and meeting the 2030 targets. What are some of the next things, high level, that you might be thinking of doing?
I might just take a moment to talk about each of those three things though, Shamara, because increasingly the solutions are the same. And we all talk about emissions a lot. I've always talked about emissions, of course, it's vital. But in fact, the right policy for reducing emissions is also the right policy for reducing costs, is the right policy for improving reliability. Now, reliability is the one that perhaps for some people counterintuitive, but is completely not.
Yeah.
Because when sometimes people ask me what keeps me awake at night, well, not very much because I'm generally too tired, but what I think is the big risk for us is an unexpected outage of a traditional energy generator. It's not the wind, and the wind not blowing, the sun not shining and all the stuff we hear. It is an unexpected outage to a coal-fired generator. And we have one at the moment. Eraring has a unit out. It's okay because all the conditions are benign and everything's rolling along nicely, but if the conditions weren't benign and we lost a unit of Eraring, we would be dealing with very, very serious challenges. So the answer is to bring more renewables on, more storage on, more transmission on, so that we're not so reliant on ageing coal-fired power stations.
What other sorts of things in terms of the net zero plans and the 2030 targets are you looking at doing? And also, what can we in the private sector be doing to partner with you on that?
Well, the main thing the private sector can do is invest.
Yes.
The government will invest so far, but we will only touch the surface. And we see our role as bringing on earlier investment by co-investing, etc. But the vast bulk of the decarbonisation effort in Australia will be private sector investment. Hence, as you said, the framework. One of the reasons we legislated our targets, and I considered recommending the Cabinet not legislate it. We didn't need to. The Prime Minister and I had already written to the UNFCCC increasing our targets. We didn't actually need the legislation. But the legislation was important, I thought, and I think I've since had that feedback from chief executives and chairs of all the major renewable investors around the world. The legislation sent us a very important signal that your country has changed and that you're stable and you're welcoming. It's a constant stream of visiting CEOs and chairs of very large renewable investors who tell me constantly Australia is either now the key investment destination or in the top 3 or 4, which is a very big change, and we very much welcome because we have we have sun, we have wind, we have land, we have skills, What we don't have is capital.
Yeah.
We never have had enough capital in Australia since 1788, and we certainly don't have enough for this massive economic transformation.
You know, we're basically trying to electrify everything, move to green electrons, rooftop solar, batteries, etc. There's a whole lot of coordination needed to help support that, incentives, the grid investment, etc. Can you talk a little bit about that and where there may be opportunities for people here to play a role in that journey?
It's a good issue to be managing, the fact that so many consumers have taken control themselves. But it does provide Daniel and the other market operators and regulators with certain challenges to respond to, and us as policymakers. But I see it very much as an opportunity, empowering the consumer to decide and better manage, well, I'm going to charge my car now, and then this afternoon I'm going to charge my house from my car, and then I'm going to charge the grid from the car when AEMO tells me they need a bit of a boost, etc., etc. Enabling that, we've got a long way to go, but we need to move fast.
Yeah.
Because the opportunity is so massive.
As you head to COP in Dubai, what do you think are some of the things we need to collaborate on globally in terms of what we want to achieve?
So we need a better outcome on mitigation. We need to make progress on loss and damage. We need good progress on loss and damage. We need some progress on global finance, climate finance. We need to do better on adaptation. We've been asked to co-facilitate the adaptation conversation, which I very much welcome. It's an important COP. How we will go, I don't know, but we're not going to leave anything on the field.